right, here we go. All right, I think that we are now live. Good morning. This is Bernard Nomberg. I am here with another episode of NOMBERG LAW Live, and I've got my friend Jen Hoverstad in Raleigh, North Carolina. Good morning, Jen.
Good morning, Bernard. So happy to be here.
I really appreciate you spending a few minutes with me. You are one of the busiest people who I have ever seen online, and I know that you've got an awesome story to share with us. And I'm really looking forward. I'm making sure that we're online, and I think we are now.
Great.
And I want to share it out one or two places, and then we can get started.
Perfect.
Let's see. This is real professional of me right now, but it's a
That's
necessary
great. I mean,
thing.
you got to share it out somehow, right?
That's right.
That's
That's right.
perhaps that's a plug that Blue Jeans needs to maybe make it a little easier to share it out.
That's exactly right. But for guys who don't know Jen, you really, by the end of this interview, you're going to want to know her. Jen, I'm going to kind of, hopefully I'll do a decent job of this, but I want you to fill in where I'm wrong. I know you're a lifelong multi-generation North Carolinian,
hmm
and that you went to NC State for marketing, and then you went to that school in Knoxville for something for sports studies. I'm not sure what took you there, but we'll move past that. I know you went to law school. You did the lawyer thing for a little while, then you did some marketing, and there's just so many things I don't even know where to really start. But let's start with what you're doing these days, because I know you have the Genfluence blog, which is so awesome.
Thank you.
And talk to us a little bit about what's going on with you these days.
Yeah, so that's kind of a good bring everybody up to speed. And my transition has kind of occurred over the past year or so, career-wise. In March, almost exactly a year ago, it'll be a year next week. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma. And so over the past year, I've been going through treatments for that. And during that time, as you mentioned, I was working in-house, and I had been predominantly working as a senior advisor to business owners. So I would say over the past 6 years or so, I had litigated my first year out of law school and decided that wasn't for me. And so I went in-house after that. And so the past year I've been doing that, but really kind of as I had been served by these nurses and doctors and the staff at the hospital I was at so well, I thought to myself, I really need to be doing something where I feel like I'm serving people well. And I did not think that my current position was what I needed to be doing anymore. And so I reached out to the president of Forrest Firm, which is a firm that I had been of counsel with for a couple of years in the employment law practice. And I said, hey, this might sound crazy, but I think I need to be doing estate planning. And he was like, not crazy at all. We need an estate planning attorney. Why don't you come in? And so over the past, I've been full-time with the firm now for 4 months. But over kind of the end of last year was that transition period of starting to move into estate planning law. So yeah, I'm back in the law firm now, something I said I would never do, which continues to remind me to never say never. But I am a full-time practicing attorney, and really kind of my goal through what I've been through over the past year with my legal practice is just to help people plan for things that they don't expect will happen to them, and try to get something together as best we can while everyone is healthy and happy. And then should the unexpected happen, you already have a plan in place for it.
No, I think that your transition and move to something that you enjoy and can handle and want to be doing, I applaud that, because I know way too many people, particularly in our profession and lawyers in the law, who are just miserable at what they do.
Yeah.
They might be making a lot of money. They might be able to take all these awesome trips and do all these things, but they're miserable inside. I know plenty of people, and I'm sure you do too, who may not make all the money in the world, but they are so happy at what they do because it's serving a purpose. It gives them enjoyment. It gives them some fulfillment. So
Yeah.
I applaud your pivoting within the legal profession, but that's not all what you're about. And I want to talk about Genfluence because I think it's one of the best blogs and Facebook pages that I have seen.
Thank you.
And before, I've got a quote, but I want you to tell us what Genfluence is first.
Sure. So Genfluence is this idea that I took it from the definition of influence, which is the capacity to have an effect on the behavior and the development and the character of those around you. And I actually came up with the word Genfluence, I don't know, 6 years or so ago when I was working at Chick-fil-A, because I just needed a term to remind me that my influence truly mattered to the people I was working with, to customers I was engaging with, to the boss that I was working for. Everything I did, no matter how small it felt, really did matter. So that's where that kind of idea came from. And when I was telling my husband I needed a name for my blog, when we decided to blog about everything over the past year, he was like, well, what about Genfluence? Like, you use it occasionally, but why not now? And I'm like, I guess now is the best time to go ahead and put it out there. So that's why I named it that.
Well, I hope you've got some copyright and trademark because I see that doing big things, and maybe you ought to get in touch with Joey Vitale in our group to get you on the right direction with that.
That's a
But
great idea.
I want to say this quote to you, and then I want you to tell me what it means.
Sure.
And here it is: focus on becoming stronger, and the rest will fall into place. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that so often we look ahead to big goals, we look ahead to big achievements, and a lot of times we just kind of forget the day-to-day of how to get there. And so for me, it's always been an idea of, and this kind of more stems from what I choose to do in my physical workouts, but the idea that I am not picking some kind of arbitrary goal to go after. What I'm choosing to do every day is to be a little bit better than the day before. And I think when you choose to be a little bit better than the day before, over time you'll eventually achieve those goals. But I think if that's the mentality that we need to have, is that just choose to be stronger, whether it's mentally stronger, physically stronger, and then everything else is going to fall into place. You're going to achieve those goals, but don't look at just the big picture all the time. Look at those small things that you're doing every single day to make yourself a better person, and in whatever regard you're trying to go after.
And I think it's so apropos, not just for your station in life right now. I think anybody can take that focus on becoming stronger and the rest will fall into place mantra for anything that they're doing in life. Because
Right.
I think I firmly believe that if you've got all of these things that you want to do and try to bite it off, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose. It's not possible.
If
But
not,
you can certainly just break it down and move along your path and get to where you're going to go. And I so firmly believe in that philosophy in life. And I'm so glad I stumbled upon it, not stumbled upon it, but I saw it on your Facebook page on Genfluence, and I'm thinking, that's perfect. That's
yeah, thank you.
absolutely perfect. And I know that at least from what I have observed on social media, well before a year ago, you've been a workout and fitness fanatic, and that's been part of your lifestyle, maybe your whole life. So
No,
tell me this.
surprisingly, it has not been part of my lifestyle my whole life.
Wow, you would have fooled me and anybody else. Talk to us about your yoga practice and how you're incorporating that into your lifestyle.
Well, Bernard, you would probably be able to relate to this, just like most attorneys. It was after law school, after I had taken the bar exam, and I just realized I was constantly carrying stress around with me. While I was studying for the bar exam, I had picked tennis back up again. Tennis has kind of been the lifelong sport that I'll play occasionally. But I realized, for me, coming back home and working, I just needed something I can do on a schedule that I could operate and one that did not require someone else to do it with me. And so my sister and I, or my sister agreed to kind of come along with me to try out some yoga studios in Raleigh. And eventually we found one where we both enjoyed going. And it kind of just stuck from there. I ended up becoming a registered yoga teacher, or RYT as most people would see it, in 2013. And but it's something that I'm not currently teaching right now. It's just something that really stuck. It's something that once you do yoga long enough, you can really practice it anywhere. It's any age, any body type. And it's something, especially over the past year, that has been really helpful to me. When I was going through chemo, my sister would come over and do what we call Yin, YIN, and Yin Yoga is meant to be a supportive, long hold yoga, something that really requires very little effort on the part of the person who's practicing it. But my sister would help me because I went through a kind of a period of dehydration for about 3 months last year. And so my sister would come and just really help stretch out my muscles because I was so weak and tired that it was very hard for me to do it. But it's funny because at the end of every practice she helped me with, I would fall asleep at the end. So it got to the point where she was like, all right, let's get your pillow out. Let's get your blanket out. Like, we know you're going to fall right asleep. So it's interesting to see, what I mostly show on Instagram is kind of the more fun side of yoga. But there is definitely a time and place for yoga, even when life is not the most fun. So yeah, for me, it has kind of become the thing that has stuck, and certainly it won't be that way for everybody, but everyone can benefit from yoga. There's a lot of just general holistic benefits to it.
I'm certainly one of the least bendable people you'll ever come across, and I've been practicing for about 4 years.
Okay.
And I don't, as much as it's easy from an optics standpoint to see, oh my gosh, look what he's doing or she's doing. I really try to stay within what I can do, and I know that's part of the thought process.
Yeah.
But when you see, and this is going to be my question, when you see that you're able to do just a little bit deeper into a pose or into a certain movement that you want to do you just give yourself a little bit of a yay in here
Oh yeah.
as you're doing that? And it's hard.
For sure.
About 3 months ago, I started doing hot yoga here locally on Saturdays.
Uh-huh.
And oh my gosh, it's a culture shock is the way I see it. But my question to you is, Jen, or do you ever do hot yoga? Do you ever do other types of yoga, or right now are you just limiting to what you're doing and have been doing?
So I'm mostly, I would say, 95% of my practice is hot yoga. So that's typically where I am, in a hot yoga studio. And oddly enough, so, when I was pregnant, they tell you not to practice hot yoga. But during chemo, they're like, if you feel like it, do it. If you feel good, then that's fine. So I have continued to practice it as much as possible. I would say the only room temp yoga that I practice is probably at home. But for the most part, if I'm going to a studio, it's hot yoga. And I think too that I think a lot of people are intimidated by hot yoga just by the way it sounds and when they hear the temperature and everything. But probably, as you have learned too, I mean, it's something where you can actually go much deeper into your stretches in a hot room. And really, you can just sweat out a bunch of gunk that's, mental gunk and physical gunk that I think is a wonderful benefit of doing hot yoga.
It's when the instructor opens the door at the end of the whole session and the cold air enters the room, it almost takes your breath away.
Oh, yeah. It's the best feeling.
It's incredible. But I can talk to you about that forever. For those of you who are just joining us, for those of you who have been with us or may watch us later on, I'm talking with Jen Hoverstad. Jen is an attorney, a mom, a breast cancer survivor. She is so many more things. She is an influencer as far as I'm concerned, and you need to find her on social. Jen, at the end of this, I'm going to put links to your Facebook pages and anything else you want to put on there.
Great.
Please put in the comments because I want people to follow you. I want them to see your journey. I want them to see these awesome videos, particularly the ones where you have your children in them.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I want to kind of pivot just a little bit, and I want to talk about the NC State Wolfpack that you've been part of, the Kale Foundation, and those awesome KD Ant Pearls. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so last year I connected, well, first of all, I went to NC State, as you mentioned. And so when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, one of the first things to come across my mind was like, how can I be involved with the Kale Cancer Fund? Kale was the women's basketball coach at NC State when I was there, but she was there for decades. And she was always very public about her battles with breast cancer. And oddly enough, what I learned after the fact was that she was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 1987. And all of her accolades, coaching the women's Olympic teams, winning the different championships and conference championships that she won with NC State, all of that happened after she was originally diagnosed. So to say she's an inspiration to me would be such an understatement because I think a lot of women see a cancer diagnosis as just completely like everything is over and done and this is it, when it's just that's really not the case. So it's been great to just have her as an inspiration, and to see that live on with the Kale Cancer Fund. So the Kale Cancer Fund was created by Kale in 2008. They just celebrated their 10 years. And what she did was she started this fund where she wanted to help find a cure for all women's cancers. So not just breast cancer, but any cancer that affects a woman. She wanted to help put money towards research. And so as many people probably see, every February is Play for K Month, where they do a basketball game at schools around the country. Her whole idea was to have 500 schools commit to playing a game that would raise at least $1,000. And just that's how we bring in funds, and so now I don't know exactly what was brought in this past February, but I do know that the money that has been raised over the past few years, they have been given out since the inception of the Kale Cancer Fund. They have been able to give out almost $8 million in research funds. Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy. This is in a world where we have so many cancer nonprofits, and for this to be such a young group, I mean, people truly do believe in what they're doing and how they're able to give back. So it really stood out to me that I was able to, one, relate because Coach Yao, I had the chance to share a campus with her at one point, but then two, actually having the diagnosis was pretty amazing. So I connected with them at some point last year, I don't remember exactly when, and we've just kind of stayed in touch. And this past January, there's a group of us, we call ourselves the Young Moms Against Cancer, and we decided to form a team for the Kale Cancer Fund walk that was in February. And our initial goal was $10,000. We're like, oh, we'll raise $10,000 and we'll do the walk. Well, we hope we'll raise it. And we ended up raising almost $50,000, which is mind-blowing for us.
Wow.
And so
That was
as a
your
result
first year of the team?
Yeah.
Wow.
It is only the third year of the walk. And what was so funny was that the walk only had a goal of like $25,000. So we all really exceeded goals there.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing to see how people come together around this cause. And so as you mentioned, Kevin Durant has been a partner with the Kale Cancer Fund. Kevin Durant and Nike are partners with Kale Cancer Fund, and every year he does a shoe in memory of his Aunt Pearl, who passed away from ovarian cancer. And this year he wanted to highlight women who had been battling whatever kind of cancer they had been battling. And so I had the opportunity to have my name put on the shoe, which is wild. And I mean, here's the thing too, because, you think about this and you're like, well, I'm sure, KD just had a team behind him to design all this, but it was actually his request to have all these women's names on there. Like it
Wow.
wasn't, he doesn't just sit back and let the Nike design team do their thing. That was his idea. So it's pretty awesome to be part of that. And I think if anything, one, I mean, just seeing my name on there is absolutely unreal. But I think too, just knowing that there are so many people who support the community of women who have faced cancer, battling cancer, and whose families have gone through this journey together is that in and of itself is just so comforting. And so that is certainly one of the reasons I'll continue to partner with Kale Cancer Fund, because I think they are doing it the right way and how they're raising awareness and raising funds. And I am really excited to continue to see where our relationship will grow.
Well, when we finish, I want to make sure we put a picture of the what Mitch is now calling the Air Gens.
Air Gens.
And
I love it, Mitch. Yes.
He wants to know, how can he get a pair of Air Gens?
Well, I had a friend, it's on my Instagram story today. He sent me a picture yesterday. He's in New York, and the shoes are on display at the Times Square Foot Locker. So I know if anything, Foot Locker has them.
Wow.
But I think they're sold out on the Nike website now.
Well, we may have to score some on the black market somehow.
There you go.
As long as the funds go to the right place.
Yes, there you go.
That's so awesome, and having your own Air Gens. How cool. Well, I don't want to, and we're getting close to the end of the interview, Jen, and I certainly appreciate your time today. I don't want to leave out your husband.
Yeah.
I know he is a huge support, and you may be out on the front lines with all of this. You may be doing all of the social media, but I also know he's there.
Yeah.
So, and I want you, to the extent that you want to, tell us a little bit about your awesome husband.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate you saying that, because I do think it's the support people who typically do not get the recognition that they certainly deserve, because in my opinion, I got the diagnosis, but he had a much harder job of just not knowing day to day how things would go. So, so my husband Carl, we started dating in 2000 as juniors in high school, and we got married in 2008. And so last year, right after my diagnosis, was our 10th wedding anniversary, which obviously we had envisioned spending that anniversary many different ways than how we did. I started chemo on our anniversary, and so he brought sparkling like grape juice and our wedding DVD, and had this whole setup ready to go so we could just kind of enjoy reflecting on the past 10 years. And I mean, honestly, he was just laughing at the fact that here we were in my first chemo on our anniversary. So, but no, Carl is absolutely wonderful. He has a great sense of humor. He's super, super thoughtful. And really, I mean, how he was able to, coordinate and navigate not only like two kids, because that's hard, I think, for any single person to do, to deal with two toddlers, but he was also able to take care of all of my appointment setting, kind of keep me in the loop as far as like, okay, you have this coming up, you have this medication you have to take on this day. I mean, he was my scheduler for all of that. So I really had to worry about very little except just getting rest. And Carl continues to just be the person where, if he needs to be in go mode, he puts that hat on and there he goes and takes care of everything. And, yes, I shared this with you, Bernard, before, but, I'm coming off of fighting the norovirus, and, Carl, like yet again, one of our daughters had it, and it wasn't that bad, but it hit me really hard. And Carl was like, okay, I got it. You just stay in bed and, gonna get kids here and there, make sure they're with grandparents and all these things. So, yeah, it's just pretty amazing, what he is able to do and how he's also very fortunate, I should say, that he has a group of friends who were there for him specifically over the past year, which I don't think he could have done the past year without them either. But I think that just goes to reinforce the idea that community is so important. Wherever it is, wherever you are, the idea of making sure that you have people who are continually pouring into you, and that you are just taking even micro moments to pour in positivity and encouragement to people around you, because you don't really know who needs it. And if you think about it, just do it, because chances are it's going to mean something to that person. So yeah, I think that's certainly a long-winded answer. I could talk about Carl forever, but he is absolutely fantastic. And I don't know how I got so lucky. Thinking back in high school, people would be like, well, did you think like this would be you and Carl and you started dating junior year? It's like, no, I did not. But I'm very thankful that it worked out the way it did.
Well, Jen, much respect to Carl. I've walked his walk. So
Yes.
much respect to him. And you touched on something so very important about having community, having family nearby, having your friends nearby. Those are probably the type of people who don't even have to ask you what needs to be done. They just do it because they know it needs to be done. So I applaud the fact that you and Carl are blessed with such a loving and supporting family and friends in the community. And I want to, as we close, and again, I really appreciate your time, Jen. I want you, I'm going to put you on the spot for just a second, as if I hadn't for the last 27 minutes. Give us your thoughts. Give us some words that a takeaway for anybody who may be walking your walk, who are newly diagnosed. What do you say to those people? How do you reach them?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, and this for anyone listening, my website is a public domain. So I encourage people, if you've heard about a woman who's been given a diagnosis, just share my website, because I think more often than not, when you're first diagnosed, you just feel really alone. The only person that I knew when I was diagnosed, I knew a couple of women, both significantly older than me, but both like my biggest supporters. And so I think the loneliness factor is just to be understood. So first I would say, like, I totally understand where you're feeling if you've just been diagnosed. But second of all, just know that you really aren't alone. I mean, unfortunately, there are hundreds of thousands of women who are facing a cancer diagnosis, and two under the age of 40, that all of us are in it together. All of us are fighting it together, and that you have the largest support system. But what it might just take is for you to reach out, to be brave enough to reach out to someone that you trust. And certainly I would hope it could be me just shooting a message saying like, hey, I just got a diagnosis, not really sure what to do next. But I was just reaching out, like just something as easy as that. I personally love to support women who've just been diagnosed, because I do think that you will find, once your treatment gets going, once things start moving along, that you actually do find a rhythm again. You find there is, life during treatment as well. Treatment is not what I thought, where I would just be hooked up to IVs all the time and, look sick and tired. That doesn't have to be treatment. So it is something where it's life-changing, but you can get through it, and there are people there to help you through it. And it is something that, more people who care, more people can relate to what you're going through than you realize. So I think just that first step is reaching out to someone, and just letting them know that you've been diagnosed, and the rest can go from there. But it does, I would say for the woman who's just been diagnosed, the scariest part is in the first couple of weeks of diagnosis, because you don't know exactly what's going on, you don't know exactly what your treatment plan is. But you can find some normalcy, you can find some routine in your treatment.
Jen, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Your words of wisdom, your Genfluence, it's out there, and I just don't want to keep seeing you do what you do, and I want to stay in touch with you, and I want to thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Bernard. This has been fantastic, and I appreciate what you're doing and bringing just different voices to your show, and I love it. And yeah, and I love too that, speaking of encouragers and supporters, just the fact that you reached out to me to let me know your story. And I think, again, it's things like that really keep us connected and keep us together. So yeah, I love you are certainly walking the walk when it comes to everything I've just talked about.
Well, thank you. And guys, this will conclude our interview for today with Jen Hoverstad. We'll put all of her contact information, her Facebook pages. If you're not following her, if you don't know her, you need to, and you need to as soon as we get finished here. Guys, this will conclude another episode of NOMBERG Law Live. We come to you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Take care.